This is Steve Ludzik, and I'm with the sheriff.
Welcome, everybody, to an exclusive episode of The Sheriff. Guys, I am absolutely blessed to have one of my old buddies with me right now. Now, this gentleman happens to be, in my opinion, the master of the craft of stick handling and handling the puck. This gentleman also carries lots of hats and has a lot of accolades. He is a Jack Ferguson Award winner, M's Family Award, CHL All Rookie Team, CHL Top Prospects Game, Memorial Cup champion with the legendary London Knights, Eddie Powers Memorial Trophy winner, CHL First All-Star Team, a two-time AHL All-Star, and ladies and gentlemen, was part of the top scoring line for the famous Modo team from Sweden in the Swedish Elite League. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robbie Schremp, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
Doing great, Sheriff. Thanks for having me on, buddy. I appreciate the intro, and I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to this conversation with you and having some fun for a little bit here. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Robbie. We got to be honest with our listeners. This is our second attempt with this recording. And I got to give you some credit, man. Like, first of all, I want to let the listeners know what the theme is to this episode, and then we're going to tie it into what happened last night. Now, first of all, skill, dangles, and determination. That's what the theme of this episode is, and it's going to come up several times throughout the episode, and it's all going to make sense. Now, determination, that was an example of last night and today, because ladies and gentlemen, my special guest today, Mr. Robbie Schremp, he did help me because there was some technical difficulties, and we were able to figure this thing out, and we're rocking and rolling now. But I kind of want to explain to the listeners where you were last night, Robbie. Now, you were at a family cottage, you were saying?
Yeah, we get a family cottage here in Latvia. It's in a town called Salkristi. It's about an hour outside Riga. It's right on the Baltic Sea. It's really out in the nature in the forest. So Wi-Fi is shoddy and the internet connection shoddy. So it literally depends on like how cloudy it is there if we get Wi-Fi. So last night was a major struggle, and I was really excited to get on the podcast with you and get this, get on here with you and talk. It's been a long time since we saw each other. So when you reached out, I was really excited to get this opportunity to chat with you and get something on a recording. So determined to get it down and get it done. So we came back in the city today, and we got good Wi-Fi, so we can hook back up and talk some hockey for a little while.
Yeah, buddy, I'm just absolutely loving it. I'm loving it for a couple different reasons. And one reason is I really want the listeners to get to know Mr. Rob Schremp, because Mr. Rob Schremp, to me, as a hockey person, dude, you absolutely mastered the craft of dealing with the puck, just all the dangles and skill that it takes to be able to handle the puck the way that you can. Now, I want the listeners to realize where the beginnings came for Mr. Robbie Schremp. Fulton, New York. Fulton, New York. I want you to talk a little bit about Fulton, how you grew up there, mom and dad, etc., etc.
Yeah, Fulton. Grew up from the time I was 4 years old. Started playing hockey. My cousins, we had two older cousins, Jeff and Chris. They were a bit older, about 15 years older than us, my brother and I. So when we were kids, 14 or 4, they were around, whatever. They were around, Chris is 15 years older, I believe, and Jeff is a couple of years younger. So they were right around the high school age. So that's who we kind of grew up emulating and kind of idolizing, watching them play high school hockey. And that kind of kick-started our hockey side of things. My dad was more into, basketball, baseball, football. He played everything else but hockey. So yeah, it was kind of bizarre that we played. So Chris and Jeff played, and my Uncle Mike, their dad, coached hockey. So that's how we gravitated towards hockey. Funny story, actually, when I was 8 years old, I didn't sign up for hockey. I was going to quit and play basketball. And my next door neighbor, Robbie Williams, who was a big part of my youth and kind of a big part of my success, actually, as an athlete. We grew up every day playing, you name it. We played lacrosse, we played baseball, we played basketball in his backyard, shot hockey pucks. We did everything. So the day that the time that I didn't sign up for hockey, Robbie Williams had they were called flak shoulder pads, and I loved them. Right, so I didn't play hockey, and I was going to go play basketball. The day of basketball starting, Robbie Williams was like, "Hey, if you play hockey, I'll give you these shoulder pads." So I skipped basketball and I went back and played hockey.
No
You know, in
way.
hindsight, it was the right move. You know, I grew up. I mean, I blossomed earlier, so to speak, or hit a growth spurt at like 11 or 12 years old to get up to like 5'10", 5'11". But up into my teen years, being 5'10", 5'11" with an 18-inch vertical, I don't think my basketball career was going to go anywhere. So I
Yeah.
think hockey was the right move. But yeah, no, I grew up in Fulton, and the rink was about, you know, probably 7 or 8 blocks away from my house. So around the time I was 10 years old, a guy named Don Kernan took over the Fulton Ice Arena. He was a guy from Syracuse area, and once that happened, we got to know him really well. And he told my family, anytime you guys want to use the rink, Tyler, Robbie, anytime they want to skate, it's open. So that was a huge, you know, turning point for me as well. I got a chance to get on the ice. Literally, I was a rink rat, and everybody knew it. From the time I was 10 to 15 years old, I spent, you know, 6, 7, 8 hours a day at that rink. And anytime, you know, when the team would go off and before the Zamboni would get on the ice, I'd go out and shoot 10, 12 pucks, and Zamboni guy would be like, "Get off! You know, you're gonna put one of those in the Zamboni and ruin the Zamboni." So I took advantage of that. Mr. Kernan offered, and I ran with it, and that's really kind of for me, it was a big turning point in my hockey, so to speak. I took it a lot more serious. I fell in love with the game at 10 years old, and I was obsessed with the rink and shooting pucks, and just I really fell in love with the game. And before then, it was just a sport to me. Up till 10 years old, it was, you know, in the wintertime you played hockey, and in the summertime you played baseball, lacrosse, different sports, and the hockey stuff kind of never even thought about it until October kicked around and started to get cold again in upstate New York. So that was the kind of turning point at 10 years old. And I really, again, spent a lot of time at that rink. And Don Kernan's son, Donnie Kernan Jr., and Blair White are 2 people that really stick out to me. My dad got me in time. My brother and I had lessons with Donnie Kernan Jr. And this guy is somebody that to this day still has the best shot that I've ever seen in my life. And he taught my brother and I how to shoot. And that's saying a lot, and I mean it. And I'm not just saying it to pump his tires. I played in every top league in the world, NHL, AHL, KHL, SHL, you name it. I played in it pretty much. And Donnie has the best shot I've ever seen, the best release I've ever seen. So it was a really fortunate resource to have so close to home in Fulton, New York. You know, dad took over the rink. He was there running it, and my dad saw him shoot one day. It was like, "Hey, do you mind teaching my boys how to shoot?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, absolutely." So. It was really a lucky break for us, and that guy changed my whole life because at 10 years old I started doing those lessons, and 11 years old I scored around between 350 400 goals that season playing for the Syracuse Elite. Syracuse Elite AAA Crunch was our name. It's kind of a long name, mouthful, but
Yeah.
Chuck Bloomquist.
You nailed it though.
So that's where it kind of took off for me, and then, you know, kind of, you know, once that year, 11 years old happened, then summer hockey started coming into play, and teams started seeing me play at 11. They were like, "We want you to play for our teams in the summertime," and hockey really took over from there. And it was no other sports. I dropped lacrosse when I was, you know, turning 12 years old, and just focused. Again, I was playing like in the summertime. I was probably playing like 30 tournaments, different teams, different age brackets. It was pretty cool. So that's kind of up to that age bracket where my life led. Starting in Fulton, it was. You know, it wasn't really known for that, developing hockey players at all. It's small town, factory town. My dad was a factory worker. My mom still does work as a stock clerk at the hospital. So hardworking family. There's 6 of us in the family. I have 3 siblings, obviously, and 2 parents. And they made it work, and they worked their ass off to give us what we needed and get us a chance to follow our dreams and chase what we want to do. So it was a great setup growing up, and it was pretty cool.
That's amazing, bro. There's 2 things I really want to touch up on here. Now, the first one is that, Robbie, I had in a lot of the research that I did, man, it widely states the dedication and time that you put in at the arena mastering this craft of stick handling and improving yourself as a hockey player. Now, I'm reading it over and over and over again. The hours put in. I'm like, how did this guy have access to this? And now it's all making sense. So this is incredible. So you guys are given an opportunity to pretty much have ice when no one else is using it at the City Arena in Fulton, correct?
Yeah.
And you jumped all over this.
And then some.
Yeah, bro.
I took it to the max. So I remember I used to get shit all the time too, because they had like the insulation around the rink. It was like it's basically just like, taped to the wall, that silver insulation.
Oh yeah.
If you missed it, if you're shooting pucks outside the rink, or not outside the rink, inside the rink, but outside the ice surface, I'd always be shooting these nets. Obviously, there were some aired shots, and I'd put it through. And Donnie Curran Jr., I got kicked out of there. I probably got kicked out of there 150, 200 times. That's it. Get out of here. Go home. So
now you're done. You're out of here now.
Now you're out. I told you.
Oh,
I told you. Don't mess the place up. So I was persistent though, and never deterred me. I got those guys fired up sometimes, but they were like big brothers to me, and there was like a family for me there. I felt so comfortable in that rink. Literally. I mean, I remember the one year spring break, I was skating 10 hours a day, and by the 5th day, my feet were like, absolutely torn apart, and I still wanted to go back. My parents took my skates away from me and hid them from me, and it didn't deter me. I ended up, when my mom and dad went to work, I found the skates and went right back to the rink. So I love that place, and it was such a big, it was such a big place for me, and a very important place for me growing up. It was super comfortable there. I had great kind of like mentors there with Blair and Donnie Kernan Jr., and it was awesome because it's, the end result was what I got to create out of my career, making it to the NHL, being drafted in the NHL, even, first round was amazing, and getting a chance to play in the NHL and play all over the world. It really started from that. It blossomed from that mentorship and that, opportunity that I was presented, and, it's really special. So it's pretty cool story, and some great people, and, helped me in getting to where I got to go to.
Unbelievable story. I want to make sure I'm getting this last name right now, Robbie. So is it Curran? Like
Kernan, Kirnan, Kernan. Don Kernan.
Okay, so now,
Jr.
Okay, so now Donnie Kernan Jr. That's the man with the shot, right?
Oh my God, unbelievable!
Let's talk about this shot a little bit. Man. Let's talk about this release a little bit. First of all, what is he? A righty, lefty?
He's a righty.
Okay, which is awesome, because if you don't shoot right, you shoot wrong, Robbie. Yeah, this is a guy with 7 or 8 career pro goals saying that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just joking. Okay, so he shot right?
Yeah.
And you're saying that this is a man that had the best release that you've ever seen, a player that's played at every level in the best leagues in the world.
Absolutely. I've never seen anything like it, and the quickness of it, the accuracy of it, and the technique on it. Still to this day, it's stuff that I pass along now when I do my lessons and work with kids. I always talk about the exact tips that Donnie gave me, and
wow,
it always makes sense. So Donnie's, and we used to, like, this is back in the wood and twig times too, right? Like, we weren't leaning on, this high level technology stuff. So it was like Titan wooden twigs, Sherwood wooden twigs, kind of lumber almost. And this guy could just manipulate the puck. And I saw him probably 4 or 5 years ago. I went back, I was around the Syracuse area, and we got on the ice together, and nothing changed. Like, he still had that pop. I was like, holy crap. Like, this.
How old would he be now, Robbie?
Mid 40s, probably 40.
Okay.
Yeah, he'd probably be, I guess he'd be right around 50-ish.
Yeah, right on.
I'm not sure how. Yeah, so Donnie, when I was like, so I'd have been 9, 10 years old. He was mid 20s. Yeah, so right around 50.
Dude, that's such a cool story, man. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about was, I know that obviously at this time, when you were 10, 11, 12, you started getting really noticed, dude, because you had a skill that no other kids in the region had. You're probably known as the best player, right, Robbie, from the region, right? So now the Quebec Pee Wee International Tournament in Quebec City, Mr. Benum, the Pee Wee, the Pee Wee Carnival. Buddy, tell me about the two. I know you went there consecutive years, 2 years in a row. Tell me about your experiences and the attention you must have gotten at that tournament, bro.
Yeah, it was wild. The first time I went was the 85 birth year with Rochester Americans, and Michel Fournier was the coach. It was awesome. It was cool in the sense, didn't really know much about the tournament. Knew it was pretty awesome and knew it was a big tournament, but didn't know the depth of it and the excitement around it and, you know, what it actually entailed. You know, the city being a festival for the event and all that good stuff. You don't really get to realize that when you go there. Or if, I mean, obviously when you're from Canada, you probably have a much better idea of what the Tournée de Quebec is, right? I think probably 10, 11 years old, you're gearing up to get there with whatever team or whatnot.
That's right.
I was not. It was more of a random offering of like, we'd like Rob to come with us kind of thing. So we went up there and it was a blast. We had a blast playing with Jimmy Bergio. There's a bunch of guys in that team. We had a great group and we had a blast. We were kind of an underdog team. The other thing is that I'd seen a little bit of the Tournée de Quebec because Don Kernan had won it with a pretty sick group like Tim Conley, Drew Bucktooth, JD Forrest. There's a big list of guys that actually had some really successful careers. You know, Drew fell off. Bucktooth not fell off, but he actually stopped playing. He went to Oshawa, played in the OHL, stopped playing, and then wound up playing Division I lacrosse at Syracuse University, which is huge. Like SU lacrosse is nasty. So he was a sick athlete. And but anyways, that's how I kind of heard. Like Don used to show those tapes at our camp. He'd run some camps, and he'd always show the Tournée de Quebec championship, this team winning, and a lot of the stuff that he was kind of implementing in that Syracuse area, the scissor cycling and 3-on-2s and, you know, changing the angles and shooting and this sort of stuff was pretty, you know, it was a lot different than what most people had seen around there. And Don was bringing that to that area. So that's where you see a lot of offensive guys started developing. They were through Don Kernan because he brought these new ideas. He got a chance to go to like World Junior camps at Lake Placid and learn from the Swedes, learn from the Finns. And, you know, they had those camps there and some of the Russians were there. He got to pick up a lot of those details and he bring it back to Syracuse and develop. So
That's
anyways,
cool.
it was really beneficial for myself and anybody in the area that wanted to learn how to play offense. Don was pretty much the innovator in doing so. So we went up to the Tournée de Quebec that first year. We just had an absolute blast. It was so much fun. There was not much expectation. It was just, let's go enjoy this time. And my family all came. We went up there and it was a huge celebration. And I think my dad and the coach Michel Fournier probably set a record for drinking those canes of the Bonhomme. I think it's what was the Caribou?
I could probably ask my mom. She'll probably remember. Was it Caribou? That's probably what it was.
Yeah, it's a mixture of wine and whiskey, I believe it was. But those guys were out having a blast every night. And then for us as youngsters, as the hockey side, it was so cool going to Colisée. There's 12,000 people in the stands for a Pee Wee game. It was like eye opening, and it was so much energy, and like it was so cool. That was my eye opener to it, and it was so unique. And then the next year I went as my own age bracket, and it was a little bit different that year.
Very different.
Yeah, it was more of a pressure cooker. A lot of attention, you know, a week or two before the actual tournament, the big paper there wrote an article comparing me to Gretzky, Lemieux, which was cool, but also, you know, when you read it, it was in French, you got it translated, but it was really cool. A lot of pride in that, obviously being compared to those people. It was pumped to have that. But then once I got to the tournament, the other part of it came, the attention, you know, and it was really like a spotlight and everybody was kind of all over us. And, you know, there was like equipment companies all over, like in the stands with my dad, and my dad just sitting there, wants to watch and just enjoy and kind of getting, I don't want to say hassled, but hounded a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was new for him too, right? Like I'm 13 years old. Like he didn't have any expectations of like any of that. My dad, again, hard working in the factory and me rising to this level and having this attention. I didn't do it. I didn't play hockey for that either. My dad didn't put me in hockey for that. So
yeah, no,
it was
exactly.
a little bit like, what is going on? And again, it was a little bit more pressure cooker that year. So it was tougher to enjoy. I felt like you had to, you know, it felt like eyeballs on you all the time. So it was again, a little bit, the first year I really enjoyed it because it was under the radar. People knew who I was, but it wasn't like the 85 birth year too is sick. Like you got like Anthony Stewart was a monster. Like Anthony Stewart was the talk of the town there. He was playing for I think it was the Toronto, the Canadiens.
Yeah, the North York Canadiens. My brother Patrick McMorrow played on that same team with Anthony and Rain Carnegie and all these guys, man.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, buddy, they were all on the same team.
Rain was sick. They had a sick team, and I remember watching. Like Stewie was a monster, right? Like,
yep.
Man, he was nasty. So that was nice because all that attention was there.
Mm-hmm.
So It was perfect. Honeybake.
I remember that.
A really good team that year. Can't remember the names on that team, but I remember Honeybake was sick. Like they tore the tournament up, and they were a powerhouse. So, that 85 birth year was a great experience to go see. And again, I was good for my age, but those guys were a notch above for sure. Like, so I got to learn a little bit from them too, watching how they played and seeing some of the dangles they did and some of the moves they made and playing at that level, what it took to dominate. So it was a really good learning experience that first year.
Yes. Now, that was probably the first taste that you got of that level of attention, though, right, Robbie?
Oh,
like
yeah,
from the media and
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was again an eye opener and really kind of let our family know, like, I guess we're on the map a little bit. I guess people know who we are.
oh yeah,
on a kind of a larger scale. It's not just the upstate New York area. Now it's kind of more. This is really starting to grow.
yeah, and like I know that you mentioned Mr. Tim Connolly. What was I got a chance to play a little bit with him, like in training camp and preseason with Buffalo, right? And how close were you guys in distance of where you guys grew up? Now, he right in Syracuse? Like he was a Syracuse boy, right?
He was 10 miles from me in Baldwinsville, New York. So Lysander Arena was where he kind of grew up. That was right around the corner from his house. That was 10 miles from my house. I spent a ton of time up there as well. And Don Kernan was the mutual guy there as well. Don was his mentor.
Okay, so teacher. Both of you.
Yep. So Don started with Timmy and took them from Pee Wee age on up to until he got drafted in the OHL. He coached him in the, part of that was Don got the team from Syracuse into at that time, I think it was called the Metro League, the Junior A League. It turned into the Ontario
Metro
Provincial.
Junior A. Yep.
It's kind of like changed a lot, but I remember going up and watching those games. They had some like the Quinny Hawks and there were some wild, like that was a great eye opener for me as a youngster too, seeing like, again, that level of hockey, having those Canadian teams come down, and there were some great players that played in that league, but there was also like tough hockey too. Like it was old school.
It was back in that era, man, when fighting was still a big part of the game, right, Rob? Yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. So
now it's interesting that we're bringing this up now, because this is perfect, because it must have been a process for you and your family to decide what the next move was going to be. Like you guys ended up deciding to play in the Ontario Hockey League, right? But there was other options that you could have taken. Obviously, you made the right one. But what was that process like? Because you were in the O when you were 16, right, Robbie?
Yeah, I got drafted first overall out of that Ontario Provincial. I started playing at 14 in that league, in the Ontario Provincial League, and had a really good year my rookie year. Again, that was another stepping stone. And then at 15, I was top 3 or led the league. I was very close to leading the league my second year in that league. So it was kind of like a progression. And the OHL was that it was just for me, it was that advancement and taking the next challenge. For otherwise, if I would have gone 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old year, I would have had to play another league in junior, and maybe I could have gone to the USHL or something along those lines. But I thought the OHL was that next step for me. And watching how Timmy's career kind of blossomed, and he went, drafted in the OHL, went and lit it up, and then got drafted first round in the NHL. That's really that's the advice that we were getting and the mentorship that we were getting, and kind of the guidance. So there was never really a game plan per se. It wasn't like we're going to the OHL. It was, again, I jumped into that Ontario Provincial League because it was right at home. I didn't have to move anywhere. I was getting flown out at 14 to other places. The North American League, USHL teams wanted me to come at 14 and play there, but I was fortunate enough to stay home with my family and play it for Don Kernan and play in a really good league. So I was lucky to have that, resource at home. But again, at 15, it was time to make that next jump. I was ready. I scored I think it was 95 points my second year.
I was just about to say, Robbie, I'm not letting you off that easy. I know you're a humble guy. Let's read out these stats, because I'm a stat guy. So now you must have been 14 your first year, right? In the OPM and MJHL, right? Dude, so in 49 games, this guy has 32 goals, 46 assists, 78 points in 49 games as a 14-year-old. Let's go to the second year. 49 games again, Robbie. 42 goals, almost a goal a game. Let's add 51 assists. Let's make it 93 points for the 15-year-old in junior, right? This is like Connor Bedard numbers type of deal, right, bro? So now this is where it gets really exciting for me because I love it when I have fellow guests intertwining in their own careers, right? You're the first overall pick to the OHL, okay? Now, that's a pressure cooker, but this is a kid where you love a challenge. Your competitive level, Rob, was probably so high at this point because you just wanted to be the best at what you could do, right? So this first overall stuff, did that just motivate you? Because a lot of kids, it would make them a little timid. But how is it for you?
Yeah, no, I thrived. I mean, I was really coming from a young age, 12 years old on. I mean, I was very competitive and borderline cocky. But coming from where I came from, I had a lot of attention, and some of it not good, some of it negative, and that kind of put a layer of skin to me. And from then on, it was like I'm not going to be nobody's going to bully me. So it kind of put a shield on, and I want to be the best. When I was 12 years old, shooting on 12 years old, I was out on the ice with Don Kernan with those junior A guys, like the Metro League goalies. He'd bring me out to shoot on them, and these guys would look at Don and be like, "Come on, Don! Like this is a joke. I'm 12, like 12-year-old kid." Don's like, "No, just get in the net," and he'd be like, "Boom, boom!" and just start picking them apart, and then Don would just start laughing. He'd be like, "Yeah." He's like, yeah, hey, why don't you get out of the net now? Next one. So I got a chance to shoot on those goalies and challenge myself at a young age. And from that time growing up at 12, I was always on the ice with older kids. So I always had something to prove. And I wanted to be better than them. They're 2, 3, 4 years older than me. And I wanted to be better than those kids, not kids my own age. I wanted to be better than the older kids. And I always chased that. And I wanted to be the best. So when it came my year to be drafted in the OHL, I wanted to be the best 86. And there was this talk about that time. I remember there was a Wes O'Neill kid that was out there, and they were saying like, "Oh, he's going to decide on what he wants to do or pick and choose." I'm like, "No, he doesn't have a choice. Like, I'm actually going to be the number 1 overall pick. I don't give a shit what Wes is." Excuse my earpiece came out.
That's all right, buddy. I love the intensity.
So then it was like that, and then I really had that challenge, and it was like, no, I'm going to put myself on the map. So that 15-year-old year in the Ontario Provincial, I was definitely shooting to put that. There's no doubt who's going to be number 1 overall. So
now, what about Central Scouting and all that? What did they have to say about that? Like, were you rated first, or did you guys kind of go back and forth? Like, how was the rating leading up to the draft?
Yeah, going into that, because he was a big kid too. He was like 6'2",
Yeah.
as a 15-year-old, big. I mean, that's a coveted position, right? 6'2" at 15, playing D. He was a good player too. Like had skill and could move the puck and that sort of thing. So that's like a really, that's a, what do you call it? Like a kind of a blue chip prospect,
Yeah.
And that's tough to go against, but didn't bother me. I was like, I'm going to put up so many points. It's not even going to be a question.
It won't even matter.
I don't care if he's 6'9". It's like, watch this.
Yeah.
Watch this.
I hear you, man. I love it.
I had some other fuel too. I remember when I was 14 years old, there's this scouting report out there called the Red Line Report. And these guys started bashing me and my family at 14 years old, calling me a coach killer, and basically just absolutely shredding my character. And at that time, I'd grown up playing for Don Kernan and some really good people. All these people that I played for were like, I mean, at 14, how are you a coach killer? It's not even a business; it's youth hockey. So
yeah,
that's
ridiculous.
In the show, and I've been in the show for whatever 8 years. I've gone through 8 coaches, and I'm not the one leaving. The coaches are. They're talking about me like this when I'm 14 and like blasting that kind of character, and that started some weird stuff. So again, I had some fuel in my tank and some thickness to my skin at that point, and that was a big reason for growing up. I put a chip on my shoulder and was basically like, I'm going to show everybody. Like I felt like not everybody was against me, so to speak, but you never know who's talking shit about you. Yeah, trying to cut your knees out, and that's how I had to kind of carry myself. And it's unfortunate, but so going into that, I had that at 14. Again, these guys writing these kind of reports. I had going into my 15-year-old, they're talking about the decision is going to be whether West picks this or West picks that. I had some stuff where I was like, no, I'm gonna prove. Watch this. So yeah, it fired me up, and it gave me some motivation. And certain people are motivated by different things. You talk about like playoffs. They're always talking about like don't ever give them the other team that quote to give them momentum.
Yeah.
For me at a young age, those couple things were things that were momentum for me. And I remember even when I was 12 years old, I wanted to play band of majors, which was 14, 15-year-olds, 84s and 83s. And they were making us think about it where I was playing. They were like, you got to stay and play Pee-wee. So they made me go to Pee-wee tryouts, my own age. And after a 1 hour session, I had hurt 4 goalies with my shot. And I wasn't doing it like to hurt them. I was shooting to score.
You're just ripping them.
Could rip the puck. So it was always like those little things that motivated me. And there were certain situations that happened through my journey that were like, okay, you're not going to support me and bolster me. Okay, then I'll prove you. Watch this. Try to hold me back now. Good luck.
Yeah.
You want me to stay here and play all year? Like we won't be able to have goalies in practice. All right. And then we're going to score 10 goals a game. Like I want to take that next step, have that next challenge. Like you should support me in this mission, not hold me back for whatever reasons. So it's a little bit of that. There's a lot of friction through my journey and things that motivated me and drove me to get where I wanted to go. And I think it's for the better. It's sometimes if it was such a smooth path, maybe it would have got more relaxed and not as driven. But I mean, up till many years, all the way up until I even got into pro, even my draft year, there was a lot of proving to do and a lot of, instances that happened that were kind of fuel for the fire.
Dude, I'm loving this so much. One thing that I want to touch up on right here is the issue with that report saying that, about coach killer, because let's fast forward probably less than 2 years from that time. You're saying that was when you were 14. So now you're 16 years old. You're the first overall pick. You're playing for the Mississauga Ice Dogs, the Ontario Hockey League. Head coach, legendary Steve Ludzik. Okay? Now, you and Mr. Ludzik are both going to be released this week. There was a long period in the show with Mr. Ludzik where he absolutely praises Mr. Robbie Schremp. He absolutely loves you as a player, loves your competitiveness, loves your mindset, loves your determination, loves everything about you. So, and he's coached at every level, NHL, AHL, OHL, every level. Absolutely loves you. Coach killer, I don't think so, buddy. You proved that right away. So good for you. Let's add a little bit to this team with the Mississauga Ice Dogs. Now, you played 65 games, almost every single game of the season. I believe at that time it was still a 68-game OHL season. Bro, you scored 26 goals your first year as a 16-year-old. Let's add almost 50 assists. You had 74 points, well over a point per game. 16 years old, all the pressure, especially playing for a team where, dude, I was on this team 2 years before that, and we won 3 games. I don't even know if it might have been the year before that, Robbie. I don't know. When was the year that Spezza and Rick Vive and Big Sean McMorrow were on the team? Was that 2 years before you or 1 year before you?
I think it was the year before. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember hearing this. I remember hearing the stories from the year before.
Okay.
So it would have been It would have been Patrick O'Sullivan was drafted the year before me, first overall, 85.
Okay. So I was 2 years. 2 years before you. Yeah. It was Jared, whatever his name was, kind of had long hair. He was the first overall pick to us.
Yeah.
The next year was O'Sullivan. Sorry?
Pat Jarrett.
Patty Jarrett, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Great guy. Unbelievable human.
Wonder. Oh man, yeah. Well, fuck. We could talk about. Yeah, Patty Jarrett, incredible dude. Yeah. So Jarrett, Sullivan, and then you. So now, 2 years removed from you, the team won 3 games when I was there, and Spezza and McGrattan and Sully and all these guys, right? And then the next year, I'm sure they didn't do too much better. And then you come in and light it up the way that you did. So that's something pretty special. But your coach, Steve Ludzik, what was it like to come in as a 16-year-old and play for a guy that had played in the NHL for so long, had already a pretty established coaching career? That must have been pretty cool.
Yeah, no, Ludzik was amazing. Best thing that ever happened for me. And it was really one of my biggest regrets, or not biggest regrets, but the biggest disappointment in my career was actually only getting to play for him for 1 year. I think a lot of things would have been different if we could have stuck together my whole junior career. And unfortunately, ownership sold after the first year, and they made changes and moved everybody out, and Ledzy went with it. So it sucked. It really sucked, because that's the one guy that sticks out to me through my whole career that I respected the hell out of, and I would have gone through the wall for it. I would have done anything for Ledzy. And my only fight actually was for Ledzy. You know, I remember the game in St. Mike's, and it was a game in Mississauga against St. Mike's, and Daryl Boyce was his name, and where I took a face off, and I took the draw, won the draw clean, and this guy didn't even try to win the draw. He just comes right up between my legs, and I was like, I just look at the guy, does it again. I look at the ref, he does it one more time, and all of a sudden I hear Ledzy go, he just like, fucking go him, Shrimpy. And I was like, yeah, you're right. He was right. This guy was trying to take advantage of me, and it was like, stand your ground. And I fought, and I did okay. And then stood in there, and I was so proud. We had Wes Rippon was on our team. He was our tough guy. And
okay.
During the fight, I was whatever. It was nothing crazy. We weren't like two heavyweights by any means. But at the end of it, I got to switch up to a left, and I threw it. I don't even think it landed, but I was just so pumped that I switched left in the middle of the fight. You know,
So you switched up right in the middle.
Yeah. I went after the game to Wes. I'm like, Wes, you're gonna lose your job, buddy. I'm switching hands up here in fights, and you're out. You're out, man. What? No, but Ledzy, I came in there as a young kid, cocky kid. I was cocky, and I come from dominating the juniors and stuff like that. And Ledzy was the perfect person for me to meet in that next step. And he humbled me, and he put me to work and got me in shape. I came to camp out. I didn't know what shape was. I played hockey before that on talent, and it got me to where I got first pick overall, and didn't really understand off ice stuff. I just literally spent time on the ice, and I spent all my time on the ice. I told you, from 10 to 15, every minute of ice that I could get, I would take. And if I couldn't get it there, then I'd go in the shooting room, or if there was a net laying around by the Zamboni, I'd go pepper the net. So that's how I got to where I got to. I didn't know the other part, and Ledzy taught me the other part. And what he said, and he always, he guided me. He's like, Shrimpy, you're going to spend the next training camp, the next month and a half, 2 months, and I'm going to get you in shape, and I'm going to push you, and you're going to work. And I just said, okay. And I did. And he's like, he guided me through my first month. I didn't have a great first month as far as goals. I was used to scoring all the time, and I didn't score. It's a totally different league, right? And it's, Don Kernan gave me some of the best advice I ever received as well. He's like, listen to me and listen to me good. Like, every league that you go to, it's going to take you 10 games to adjust. Sometimes you might come in there and you might put up some points, but you're not going to understand the league until 10 games in. That'll give you your buffer, and that's when you're going to understand the trends, the flow of it, and where your opportunities are going to be. And it was bang on in the OHL. The first month I had, I still had assists, but again, for me, it was like I was slumping because I hadn't scored in 10 games. I'd never done that. I hadn't done that since, I don't even know. I didn't have a tracker, but I mean, I never gone 10 games without a goal.
Yeah.
And but Ledzy was really patient and really teaching me the ins and outs of the game, playing both sides of the puck. And that's some of the best hockey I probably played ever in my career, all the way up until even in pro, and played really solid two-way hockey, and I was putting up points. It put me in the right spot in the 5-on-3 to score some points, and good supporting cast, obviously, with Sully there and Danny Siska, Greg Dracena, some good older guys. So they were good to watch too, because Juice was awesome, man. He was undercover and nasty. Yeah, he was a beauty too, man. He was just I hope he doesn't take offense. He was a strange bird, but like, you know what I mean? He was just a strange dude, but like cool as hell at the same time. But you go out on the ice, and some days he'd be, not happy, and he could fight, and he could be chippy as hell, and then the next night he'd be the most skilled guy between 3 first overall draft picks. He was so dynamic, and but it was great, and Ledzy was a huge part of it, and their family was amazing. Marianne and the boys, Steven and Ryan, they became a second family, and Ledzy was a second father to me. So he stuck up for me too. And there's, some of this kind of called shit cloud that came from when I was 14, and I don't know where it came from. Negative. My biggest, I think, down, if I could take back a little bit, would be the cockiness. But I kind of referenced to why I had that. Nobody knows everybody's experience or why they are the way they are unless you dive a little bit deeper. And man, up until 15 years old, I'd already been through like 3 or 4 years of just daggers coming out of everywhere,
ridicule, criticism.
As a kid, man, I was just enjoying life, and I was like advanced. At 13, I had a goatee, and I had a growth spurt, right? Like I was at 13, but I was hanging out with junior A players, 19, 20-year-olds for 2 years already. So I'd already had like a little bit of a, what do you want to call it, advance on life, or a different perspective, and hearing these mutts in the locker room, guys like Matt Murley, being around him, and he's a lovely guy to death. growing up and hearing what some of these guys were saying when I was 12 was probably not the best thing.
Yeah.
But I'd seen a lot already at a young age. So, and then been through quite a bit. There's even stuff like I remember there was an instance where at my own rink in Fulton, there was someone came and asked me to come on the ice and teach their kids. I was 12 years old, and it was with not my own team. So it was like 8 or 9 year olds. I went out to help, and I got a board member came. I was like, "You can't be out here." Like, I was like, I was asked to come out here, and then it was like some of this like negative. Like there were some negative experiences, right? So there was
Yeah.
reasoning for me to feel a little bit defensive going in, but Ludsey made me feel so comfortable. I just got to be myself, and myself is not a bad person. So when I got to be myself and show up to the rink every day and give Ludsey my best and give what I had, which was competitiveness, skill, abilities, whatever, lead a team in some regards, even at a young age, because it was all driven by competition. I competitive as hell. I hate losing. So did Ludsey. I mean, one of the first times I met him, I was doing a camp in Kitchener with my agent at that time, Scott Norton, and Ludsey came
Norton.
and picked. Yeah, Scotty Norton, Newport, or no, was it Sunset Coast Management at the time?
Yeah.
So Ludsey came to pick me up because there was like a movie shoot that we were doing or something at the rink in Mississauga. They needed it. It was like a Lifetime movie or something. And Ludsey came and picked me up in Kitchener with his wife, and Ryan came as well. And we were on the way home, and someone on the road cut Ludsey off, like in traffic. And Ludsey got fired up, like super competitive. This guy's competitive, always, right? He's all fired up, and his Marianne's like rubbing his neck. Like, he's okay, just relax. We're just on the road, I'm in the back. I'm like, the first time I met him, I'm like, holy shit! Like, what am I getting into? Like, this guy's fired up. He was ready to go tilts on the road, right? But once I got to get to know Ludsey, like that's him. He's super competitive, wants to win. That guy cutting him off on the road was more like you know what I mean? It was like I don't know, just
trying to beat him to the destination.
Exactly.
Something like that.
But yeah, so Ludsey was awesome, and the things that Ludsey did, and the way that Ludsey stuck up for us as players was amazing. Like, you just respect the hell out of that guy. Again, I'd go through a wall for that guy. I'd do anything for Steve Ludsey, or anybody in his family. So I wish we could have lasted longer. Once management changed over that year, it was kind of like everything kind of fell apart a little bit, and then it was time for a change. Unfortunately, It's just the way she goes, and we can jump down that rabbit hole a little bit. But it was tough to go from feeling, my rookie year totally supported and having somebody that was guiding me in the right path and looking after me and really cared about me, and then in the blink of an eye, they sell the team, and it became a whole different story. So. Ludsey is a huge part. I still keep in touch with him today and follow along. And we talk, every couple months we talk to each other and talk about the good old days and, what's going on in the game a little bit. And it's good to see him battling back right now and seeing what he's gone through. But he's such a warrior. It's not a surprise. I'm just happy that he battled through and got to where he is today, and I'm doing better.
Ludsey strong.
Ludsey's strong. I got my sweater in the room. My daughter said I was going to rock it for the interview, but I walked in there and she started crying. So I wanted to
keep
rock
the daughters calm.
I know. It's not easy keeping them down.
So now, Robbie, now obviously, a lot of us players, we get lucky and we end up in spots where our coaches truly care about us, and it's just the right place at the right time for us, and we're able to develop and flourish just like you were with Ludsey, right? So now the change in ownership, the change in direction, now the team's kind of scattered and they're being pulled apart. Now, other than the situation that you had with Ludsey, I would say the closest thing to being in a good situation was being with the Hunters in the London Knights, right? And although this was a team, at this time, London was turning into a powerhouse, right? This is they're being very successful. Now they're really pulling the trigger on going for it all and acquiring Mr. Rob Schremp from Mississauga, right? So now I know they're always switching back and forth. Who was the GM and who was the coach when they got you? Was Dale the coach and Mark was the GM, or how was it when they got Rob Schremp from Mississauga?
Yeah, Dale was behind the bench and Mark was GM. So that was I think the year before was the last time Mark was around. as far as behind the bench, he went up to the office, and that's really his forte. That's what
Yeah.
he's really good at, like spotting players, traveling. He's the hardest working scout, hardest working GM. He's not a scout. He's, it's GM and owner, whatever you want to call it. But man, he watches more players than anybody. So that's his forte. And Dale really enjoys that tactics piece and, the battle of and the grind of that sort of thing. And yeah, it was crazy. It was such a change, and going to, Mississauga was no fan. I mean, you played there. There was no fans, and then you jump into a building that's brand new building and packed every night. It was pretty cool. It was it was a shock in some regard. It's like, wow, this is what junior hockey. This is what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the top of the top for all that, for like average attendance. Like I don't think there was a team in the CHL that was averaging more than London at that time. Like London. Like, no. What is the? Sorry, go ahead, Robbie.
Yeah, no, you're right. We were the top in the league. My three, there still are. They still have their season ticket holders. There's a lineup for it now. It's like almost like turning obviously the Green Bay Packers, the CHL, so to speak. It's tough to get 2-year wait line to get tickets. So,
what is a sellout? What is a sellout in that arena in London?
They announced 9,100, but it's usually like 10,100.
Yeah, standing room, right?
Yeah, standing room and in the bar area, so it was a little bit more packed. The place was packed. Like, it was sick. It was so sick.
So, okay, now Rob, I just want to reiterate some stuff for the listeners. This is a player, I'm talking about you, buddy. Now, this is a player that is incredibly gifted, skill-wise, creativity-wise. You're given an opportunity to master this craft with being able to come to this rink because of the individuals that you're working with that and man, you really worked on it. You really worked hard. You really put the hours in. You saw that you had something special and you wanted to be the best you possibly could be at it. Now, Mr. Rob Schremp, what you were end up being able to get to, in my opinion, is the best puck handler / stick handler in the world, I believe, right? Now, I know we've talked about this before. With all the time that you put into it, and with all the passion that you have for it, all the creativity that you've added to it, you also believe that you could do things that no one else on this world could do, right? With the puck, starting at this time right now, Mississauga London Knights time, starting from that time.
Yeah, I started again probably 12 years old, where I was starting to do things with the puck that nobody else was doing. I got kind of inspired by the Mike Legg goal as a kid, saw that at the Michigan. But it's
how old were you at that time?
I saw that.
Do you remember?
I think it was 10 years old, 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah.
I saw that goal. It was on that VHS. It was, I got a chance to see it. My cousin had it. And from there, I saw it once, and it just kind of rang after a while. I was probably almost 12 years old. I was playing lacrosse, and I did the Mike Legg in the middle of the ice, and I just started cradling it like a lacrosse stick. And I remember I was out there. I was at the Bantam Major tryouts. This was the time at the Pee Wee where they were trying to fight to get me to stay at Pee Wee. And I was out there with the 14, 15-year-olds, and I started playing lacrosse with the stick, and all these older kids were like, what the hell was that? I'm like, pretty cool, isn't it? Like, you see that? And then it just really took off like wildfire from there. And then I started getting really creative with the puck. So starting at that young age, I really was doing things with the puck that nobody else could do, or nobody else was doing. If there's one guy in the world that was I was really inspired by, but it was also in that same caliber was Kovalev. I mean, he was doing things like one-handed snapshots, like his puck control is nasty. And it's somebody that I looked up to. His style too is sick. He had the flow, white jets. Like, he was such a, nasty player, awesome entertainer, you name it. Really liked the way that he, kind of was looking out on the ice, so to speak, when he had the puck. And I tried to emulate a lot of that stuff. But yeah, so I started doing that stuff, and I started doing it in warm-ups, and then that's the thing with people. I started getting that attention. In Trinity, Quebec, basically, you could have paid for admission just for warm-ups to watch me. I was doing these things with the puck, throwing it up to the roof of the ceiling, catching it, doing whatever I wanted with the puck. People were like, it was different, right? And it's, again, even at those times when I was doing this stuff, that was all part of it too. Like, my dad's up in the stands watching, he's like proud. And then you hear somebody like, important scouts or somebody like, look at that punk, look at this hot dog, cocky, whatever. It's like, man, my dad's like, he's 13.
And this is what hockey's missing.
And he's 13, and you don't appreciate that, And that's one thing. And Mark Hunter stuck up for me was when they came to watch me and scout me when I was, reported I wanted to trade, and that's one same thing. There was someone in the staff who was like, "What's he doing?" And Mark goes, "No. Like, do you understand how hard that is? Like, do you have any? Can you? I know you can't do it for sure, but you understand how skilled that is. Like, that is insanity." And that was something that Mark, it was like kind of stuck up for me on in some regard. So. There was things like I hone that craft, and I'm proud of it. I don't. People can try to take me down as much as they want. I don't care. Go put the hours in to do it, and be able to do it like I can, and then you can come. Let's have a conversation. But
No, exactly, Robbie. And just to add to that, this is the thing: when someone is the best at something, right? There's people that are the best at certain things, right? But that person all the time is attacked because they're the best. And why are they attacked? Because all those people just wish they could be like that person. Trust me, that's how it works, man. You're the best at that craft. You know it. I know it, right? The viral videos know it, right? So that's what it is. Now, okay, so I'm off a couple years. You're saying that you believe that even as young as 12, 13. I was thinking 15, 16. You're saying as young as 12, 13, you were doing things nobody could do.
Yeah, I think that was one. I remember Matt Murley said it too. He's talking. I think he was on Spit and Chicklets. He's like, I skated with Rob Schremp when he was 12 or 13 years old, and he wasn't the best player around that area. He was the best player in the world at that age. He was the best player at that age. He was the best player in the world, and that was an amazing compliment. And Matt Murley was an idol of mine growing up too. He played in that Syracuse junior crunch team, and he tore it up in that OPJHL. And him and Timmy were really close too. So there's it was interesting being around that. So Timmy went one way and Matt went the other way, right? Like Timmy went to the OHL, Matt went to NCAA. Both had great careers, but both were nasty. And I watched Merle's light that league up. So he was an idol. I idolized him growing up and tried to emulate a lot of stuff he did. And when he said that, it meant a lot to me too. It was fairly true. I guess I didn't say it. He said it, but it was pretty true. At 12, 13, 14 years old, like there was crowds of people coming to watch my games, and I usually didn't disappoint. So it was really had the puck on a stick, on a string, so to speak. Puck was like a magnet. I could do it, And the thing is, now I'm 35, and there's times I don't skate for 2 or 3 months, and I just go out on the ice, and it's like it never leaves. So it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
that means I spent a lot of time, and it's almost like second nature to me now. So it's now it's more. I have more pride in it now because it makes really, again, those times where I don't skate for 2 or 3 months, and then I get out on the ice, and it just comes back like that. It really kind of is an indicator of how much I did work on it and how much time and effort I put into it and how ingrained it is in me. So it's that's pretty cool.
Exactly. And like those are the points that you just mentioned of what I really want to get out the most. Whenever we bring up the stick handling, like awesomeness, people need to know how long it took for you to build to that point, the dedication, the hours, buddy, the passion that you have for it, the competitiveness, man. There's so much involved. No, but people need to know, and I'm so glad that we're able to say this now, Robbie. Now, when you went to London, this was your draft year for the National Hockey League, okay? So you must have been like, okay, like this is my dream. I want to get drafted as high as I can. You got to put up the points. You definitely didn't disappoint. Again, Mr. Stat Guy here, man. So well over a point per game for London, okay? But you were able to also have a really good playoff run. Now, I know that you had the 15 games played in the playoffs. How far did you guys go that first year with London, your draft year?
We lost in the Western Conference Finals to Guelph.
Okay.
7. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got stopped.
And that wasn't, but that wasn't Jansen's or Penner, was it?
It was Jansen, St. Pierre, Kevin Klein, Ryan Callahan.
All
Dennis.
those guys, all of them. They had also been building a team for this era. The Guelph, yeah, buddy. Wow. Okay, yeah, so you guys lost.
We had a good team too. Like we on paper were, tick for tack with that. Really, it's just a matter of they showed up in a game 7. That's playoffs are dangerous. They hung
Yeah.
around, and Jansen was running around. But Prusty answered the bell, and we had Danny. I think Danny Bois got suspended for us, so we actually had a little bit more meat. We had more toughness, but Danny took a 5-gamer in the series right before that series. So that really
and
hurt.
he was heart and soul of that team, right?
Yeah, Danny was really, he'd been in Londonite, and he was like that. He was a good leader for us. So, and he also settled the ice down. Jansen, Cam's unreal. Like, he can swing the momentum with a couple of his big hits, and then he always answers the bell with a fight, and he does well in the fight. So Jansen was a huge factor in the playoff series. And then the other thing is Kevin Klein in 7 games had 3 hat tricks from the blue line. Like,
holy
weird stuff happens in the playoffs, and that was our lesson learned. That was our lesson learned that year, and that's why the next year we'll follow up with that. But like, that's why we came in guns blazing the next year. We were so disappointed, pissed off, and understanding of never let off the gas pedal, because not to discredit them, we were the better team. We had home ice advantage. And they won that game 7, and eventually went on to go to the Memorial Cup. So I guess everything happens for a reason, and that gave us the fuel for the next season. But at the moment, it sucked. It was draft year. And personally speaking, I wanted to go as far as we possibly could to put out, as much, put yourself in those situations and give yourself, the biggest chance and the most games to showcase your game, especially I love playoffs, and you can check my stats. And that's something I'm always proud of. My stats are always sick in the playoffs. I showed up every time I came to dance. So there's some guys that show up for training camp. I'm not saying I didn't show up for training camp, but I didn't show up for training camp. I show up with a mentality like, wait till you see me in April. And that's how I played the game, and that's how I always did. And I didn't say, my 16-year-old year was my wake-up year. I went to the Legends. I came in fat. I was out of shape. I got drafted first overall. Again, I just skated all summer. I didn't train. Everybody else was like 8-9% body fat, and I was like 17 or 18 and just thought I was going to get around on my talent. And that was the last time I showed up to a training camp out of shape. But, again, mentality-wise, who cares what's going on at camp? It's what happens in April and May or whatever.
Yeah.
Playoff time.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So, dude, now you end up being a first-round pick, to Edmonton Oilers. You went 25th overall. Now, where was your draft?
Raleigh, North Carolina.
So the Carolina Hurricanes arena?
Yeah.
Right on. So, obviously, so you went to the draft.
Yeah, I actually had 125 people come as far as friends and family as well. So it was a big
wow.
It was a big entourage. It was pretty cool. It was neat. Yeah, it was a really proud moment, and having all those people there for support. A lot of people were along the whole way since the time hockey got serious at 11. I had some of those teammates from my 11-year-old year. They were there. Tyler Zinsmeyer, Greg Haney, these guys. So the Gonzala family. There was a bunch of them. So it was great to have all those people in this, in the stands to support that big day, because that's huge. That's a huge stepping stone. So it was pretty cool.
Yes, it is, dude. And like, honestly, I just want to add to that a little bit, Rob. Like the NHL drafts, like I've had this conversation with a few of my guests, and like just the fact that you brought that amount of people to your draft, obviously you feel the same way about the NHL draft. The NHL draft to me is extremely special because we're only 18 years old. So what does that mean? From birth to 18 years old is pretty much our family and all our family supporters and friends that have been part of the ride to that point. After that, it's really the player. It's the player a couple years before that, because the OHL is pretty much a pro league for teenagers. But after that, the family kind of takes a different role, from a distance, and it's all business to see how far the player can take this career, right? But to this point, I believe the draft is a family accomplishment. I believe you can add the people that you're mentioning now, the families and friends that were all part of the journey. That's who accomplished the draft, in my opinion. Mr. Robbie Schremp, you brought 100, what did you say, 130?
Yeah, roughly 130 people was at the draft.
So you obviously feel that the draft is an accomplishment of many that supported you. Right, but mostly your family, and that's a beautiful thing, brother. I've never heard anyone say they brought 100 people to the draft out of state, right?
Yeah.
So what about the draft party, bud? What happened there?
It was awesome. It was a great chance to celebrate. Draft day was really intense and really a wild day. Personally, I was ranked like pretty high, and I know it went first round, so some people are like, you went first round, shut up. But like, I'm competitive. I don't care. I mean, I wanted to go as high as possible, and I want to be the best of the best. So I felt like I slipped in the draft, and it was a slip. Like, I was ranked top 10, and I went to 25. So sitting from top 10 to 25 in every pick, having those draft meetings and having a lot of those meetings say like, you're not going to be here at our pick, so whatever. Those picks were from 11 to 25. Every one of those, you're standing like, okay, this one, nope. This one, nope. It was a bit of a emotional roller coaster, and having a NHL TV camera there right in front of my face the whole time with the mic waiting, because they were expecting every pick, right? So it was intense. So then afterwards, it was nice to put that down and know that I got drafted. Went drafted in the first round, which is still an accomplishment. But having all those people there, they would, once the pick came and my name got announced, it was so loud and it was pretty cool. Everybody started looking like, what's going on? So they had this whole section, and it was so cool. Afterwards, got a chance. Yeah, everybody was there. We went to a hotel and really celebrated and had a good time and told stories and, old summer hockey tournament stories and messing up hotel room stories and ruining insulation at the rink stories. It was all good. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, it was an interesting day, so to speak.
That's awesome, buddy. Now you're okay. So you're drafted. You're a first round pick. You're very, very proud of that. Although you're super competitive, you wish you could have went earlier, but you're content with the first round, which is a big accomplishment, like you mentioned. So now we're going into the 2004-2005 season. Not only is it the NHL lockout season, so certain leagues are going to get more attention. For example, the American Hockey League, they're going to get more attention. The OHL is going to get a ton of attention with there being no NHL available. Mr. Rob Schremp and the boys with the London Knights, you guys pulled off a season like, and now you guys pulled. There was multiple seasons similar to this, but I believe, is this the year that they say is the best team of all time?
Yeah, we actually got voted team of the century.
Okay.
2 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, we got voted team of the century, and the kind of recognition of that season. So it was sick. Yeah, it was intense.
Okay, so now you guys, team of the century, best team of all time. You guys roll through the regular season, and now you guys start the playoffs. Season before, get knocked off by the Guelph Storm. You guys are very, very hungry, my friend. Now, you did not disappoint at all. You almost had 2 points per game in the playoffs, okay? Let's talk about the Memorial Cup, brother. Because I believe this was the first Mem Cup in London Knights history. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I mean, they got a very passionate fan base going back to the Ice Garden days, and they used to battle in that barn, and the fans were super passionate there, and that community really wraps around the hockey, and so they were patiently waiting for that championship. So the fact that we got to bring it to them actually and do it at home was really unique, and not to mention some of the stuff like that season was wild. Again, the lockout, no NHL. There was so much attention, and it was crazy. So the fans, the countdown to whatever, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we all jumped the benches. The building went nuts, and then for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the city went nuts, and it was what a time it was. It was so, yeah, I'll never forget those times, that's for sure. That's even going into pro, like 24, 25, 26. I was still going back to London, Ontario. The guys on my team like cut the cord. They're like, buddy, I'll never cut the cord. Like, it was so sick. It's the best times of our life,
100%. It was quite a process to make it the way it was, though, Rob. Like, to have, London host the Mem Cup, right, that year, okay? It was quite a process. Mr. Trevor Whiffen, one of my former guests, he was the president of the committee that got the Mem Cup in London for that year. And he was explaining that process. And man, it was pulled off because you guys had the team. That was the biggest part. They had to sell that you guys were very likely to win if you could host it, right? And that's where Trevor was able to execute, okay? So now you guys backed up everything that was guessed. You guys backed it up. You rolled in there. You got guys like Rob Schremp getting 2 points a game in the playoffs, and now comes the Mem Cup, and you guys pull it off. It's like a picture story ending, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was, and that's the thing. It was, pretty decent pressure cooker through the course of the season. We rolled through it, but it was a lot of attention, a lot of expectations. Especially we came out guns blazing, 31 undefeated games. The attention was really on us. So then, getting like 10 games into that, it started and it never stopped. And then we got the best of every team every night. We got the best of every team every night. Everybody wanted to knock us off. Everybody was coming for us. Everybody wanted to challenge our tough guys. Everybody wanted to challenge our skilled guys. So it was intense, and it was awesome. So it was really like a playoff setting for us, going from like 15 games into the season all the way on. So we were battle ready, and we expected it of each other, and we came every single night, and we started to enjoy that. That we knew we were getting. The press was out there. There was no NHL, so all the press was. A lot of it. We were making sure our names were front page, baby.
Well, yeah. I'll tell you what, Rob, man. Like, okay, so the confidence level going into the next season, for you personally, it must have been pretty high because you're coming off like a really, really big playoff run personally, like production-wise, right? And dude, I'm telling you, this last year with London, when I was looking things up, this is what impresses me the most because I knew it was after a Mem Cup victory. I knew it was when everyone's going to be gunning for you guys, for the top players, like Mr. Rob Schremp, the top tough guy. They're going to be gunning for him. They're going to be wanting to score on the London Knights goalie, starting goalie. All you guys are being challenged personally and team-wise. Buddy, I don't even know how this is possible. So, and I know I don't need glasses, but I'm going to read off the stat line for this season I'm talking about here. Okay? So now, we got only 57 games played, Mr. Rob Schremp. We got 57 goals, a goal per game in Major Junior, 88 assists. I thought it was a typo. 88 assists. 145 points in 57 games, Mr. Rob Schremp. That's almost 3 points a game. You know what I mean? Over 2.5 for sure. Pretty close to 3. Man, tell me about that regular season. Like, we're talking 9,000 people on a Friday night. It was called the Labatt Center then, right?
John Labatt Center, yeah.
Yeah, man, the John Labatt Center, 9,000 people, and Schremp is just sniping 3 points a game. Maybe it's 3 goals, maybe it's 2 snipes, 1 assist every game. Like, what? How many Schremp jerseys was there in the John Labatt Center, man?
Yeah, I should have negotiated better.
We should have had a percentage, man. Let's call Markendale right now, man.
Like $50 a week, I got screwed. No, it was awesome, man. I really embraced that building. I love that building, and it was 3 years of a lot of growth and a lot of getting to that point. And it may sound terrible to say, but I could have done that. I felt like I could have done that my first year at 17. But there's a pecking order to go through and a way to learn Dale's ways, and I had to go through that, learning curve. And it took some time, and I went there at 17, and it wasn't just thrown into the red carpet and go play. We had Corey Perry, we had David Bowen, we had other names on the list, so there wasn't like just
Sivret, all those guys.
Savvy, you had a ton.
Still there?
Dennis was there my first year, so there was a lot of sharing going on and a lot of being team, and it wasn't just go be a stud. So which is so that's the thing. Like that, I also felt like I had that ability though. That's my point. Like, at 17, I was like I can run with this thing. But my last year really got that rope and that rein. In my second year there, we had Corey Perry, who was by far the best player in the league. There's no doubt about it. Still believe that I would challenge him skill-wise, and that could be, challenge him points-wise. But he's playing both sides of the power play, 2 power plays, and more minutes, blah, 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 that good stuff. No excuses, but factors. So my last year was really got a chance to dive in there and take the lead, take the reins. And, it was fun. I think there was one stat Jimmy McKellar told me a couple years ago. He was our assistant general manager. Yeah, Jimmy boy.
I love Jimmy, man. I love Jimmy McKellar, man.
Yeah, he's like a big brother to us. He was awesome to us my time in London. Still to this day, I still talk to him. So lifelong friend, and he's an amazing person. But Jimmy said that there was a stat that I had six straight home games on Friday night. I had a hat trick. So
Every Friday, six Fridays in a row.
In a row, I had a hat trick, and they had that back then. We started with our thing. One time I got probably my third hat trick on one of those nights. Someone threw a sombrero out on the ice, and I got the first star. So I went out as the first star, and I grabbed the sombrero, and I did a lap with it. And then they still to this day do the sombrero thing. Patty Kane's got a photo with it, doing the same thing when he was there.
You started that?
Somebody started by throwing it. I was started by putting it on. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so the players now do that as like a cultural thing because of Mr. Rob Schremp.
Yeah. So
that's cool, man.
Pretty cool. It's a cool little trend. But yeah, that year was really kind of fuel too. I went to training camp as a 19-year-old in Edmonton. And I really thought I played really well and put my best foot forward. And I wanted to make that next jump. Personally, competitively, you name it, like wanted to be there, thought I deserved to be there. Local media, writing newspapers about how I'm on the roster. And that's the lesson learned there. Don't read into anything, whether it's good or bad. Because I kind of mentally set that I was going to make the team. And then, I got called into a meeting and they said, yeah, we got news. We're going to send you down, but we're going to sign you to your elite level contract. So it was tough and it was frustrating. It was cool to get signed to that entry level deal, just to know, like you talked about with the draft, like that's a huge thing for me too. Like for our family coming from where we came from, that NHL first round money was awesome.
Yes.
There's no other way to cut it. I mean, my dad was a factory worker. My mom worked 2 jobs. So we weren't swimming in money by any chance. And the fact is that, starting from 12 years old on, I didn't have to pay because I got so good at hockey. That was a driver too. I got, stick companies and Mission sponsored me at 11 years old. I got the chance to go out and make a movie with Wayne Gretzky when I was 12. And from then on, I got a deal with Graf skates for me and my brother. So we didn't have to take care of, skates that took off my dad's plate. Going into that, we were using hand-me-down shit, like whatever.
Of course.
So, yeah. So it was huge to get that day. Was a big turning point, but it was also disappointing. Like the first part was like you're going down, that stuck, and then you're getting almost $1 million, which was the signing bonuses back then. So it was it was different. Then I went back to London. I was really determined to prove like I wanted to be there. So I went down guns blazing and put up a lot of points in the first 10 games. I almost that's the thing. David Bolin was down there. I told his story recently too. David Bolin was down there in 10 games. He had like 30 points. So he was on a tear, right? And I was in Edmonton still.
This is Chicago Blackhawks, David Bolin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was down in London already, started the season, and I think we were talking on like MSN Messenger or something like that. And he was like, we were chirping back and forth, and he's like, whatever. I kept telling him, I'm going to catch you, buddy. Wait till I get back. If I get back, I'm catching you. I'm going to catch it. And he's like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So the first 10 games, I put up like 50 points. I think I had.
Come
Branks,
on.
You remember Branks?
Come on.
You remember Branks, obviously. Don Branks.
Of course, Mr. Don Brankley.
He was an awesome guy. He was amazing. Great trainer. Awesome. Big piece of history in the London Knights, and awesome guy in the room. But he gave me a plaque and I found it in my parents' storage stuff last summer. I had 100 points in 37 games. So I got to 100 points in 37 games. And then from there, it slowed down because everybody started shadowing me. So they would just turn it into a 4-on-3 because they would just go and stand right next to me, and then they let the other 4 guys zip it around. And we had great players too. We had Bolin, Dylan Hunter, Sergei Kuznetsyn, and Adam Perry standing in front of the net. So they really
no big deal.
The power play kept clicking. It's just my point production slowed down quite a bit.
Could anyone move Dylan from in front of the net or what? Was he in front?
The Coke can, man. He was so solid. He was on the goal line. He was one of the best.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He was super smart. He had great touch, great hands. He had great decision making, all that stuff. He had some great tangibles to his game. He had 300-point seasons in the O. It's pretty remarkable. So yeah, Huntsy was a perfect player. I mean, he's just always in the right spot at the right time, made the right play at the right time, and he was awesome to play with.
So now, Rob, the other thing I wanted to touch up on is, I mean, obviously we met at Edmonton Oilers camp, right? Like we knew of each other and stuff, but the first time we got to kind of hang out and, that kind of thing was at Edmonton Oilers camp. I love the Oilers organization. This is my opinion. It's not meant to put anyone under the bus or anything, but like, I believe that you should have got a better shot with Edmonton. And the reason why is because of what you did in the minors for Edmonton. Like, I could understand if you just if you got the pro and it was like, okay, well, I mean, this guy's not putting up any points. I played in Buffalo. We had a guy named Yuri Novotny, very good on the international stage. He just couldn't produce in Rochester. The guy wasn't putting up any points. He's getting like 8, 10, 12 points his first year, maybe 15 his second year. I mean, I'm looking at the stats here, bro. I mean, buddy, your first year pro, you almost had a point per game. I mean, you had 53 points in Wilkes-Barre, right? In Rochester, if one of us had put up 53 points as a rookie, I think Pominville may have got close to that. Boom, Buffalo would reward and just put him there. Look what he did in Roch. We're just gonna put him in Buffalo. We're gonna give him the last 15 games. Maybe that will turn up his confidence for training camp next year, type of thing, right? So, all right, let's see what he can do the second year. Second year pro, you improve. Second year pro, you improve. You have 64 points. Okay, 64 points in the AHL, bro, as a 21-year-old. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. I admire it because I know the grind. I know the AHL grind. I played in the league for 6 years, brother. The 3-and-3s, the getting to town at 4 or 5 in the morning, and you got to play that day. And you've been on the bus for 6 hours, 7 hours, like, you know what I mean, bro? So you went all through that as a guy, 20, 21 years old, and you're putting up a point per game. And I respect that. As a former player, I respect that. I know that different organizations work differently, right? In some organizations, you put up big numbers in the minors, NHL team is automatically giving you that shot. Not every team works that way. Sometimes it may be a year where the depth chart is super, super thick. You know what I mean? It's just, there's got to be I find 9, 10 components that all got to work out, Schrempy, at the same time for that person to have successful time where they're drafted. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting how all that works. I know obviously you're proud to have been an Oiler. You did end up playing for the Oilers. You know what I mean? You actually, for the opportunity you got, you still put up pretty good numbers, man. Like the per game totals, right? So I know you had a good experience at Edmonton. You just had to move on. It just wasn't. It was not the right time. Whatever you want to say. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, it was frustrating, and even my rookie year was a good. I think it was a good. I think 40 games, 50 games in the minors would have been perfect, and then spending the other half the year up and playing with the big club so I can get my feet wet and understand and make that progression. A big thing for me was my rookie year, a big struggle going into it. The first 20 games of the season, again, Don Kern's advice, 10 games of the year, and it nailed true there.
Yeah.
It even took it a little bit deeper. We had a different team though. Back we had a grinder, and we were unbelievable at it. We had a half split. We had 10 Oilers, maybe not even 7 Oilers guys or 8 Oilers guys, and the rest Pittsburgh guys.
You guys were a dual affiliate that year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And we had Dennis Bomby, we had Matt Karkner, we had Brian Stone, Dan Carcillo, Wade Schoolney. We had in that league was back then that was meat. It was everybody had that though. Philly had Tristan Grant, Riley Cote. I mean, Grenier, I think his name is Stefan. If I'm not saying it wrong, but Grenier, huge monster.
Yeah, Martin Grenier. I played with him.
Martin, sorry.
His hands were 3 times the size of mine.
Yeah, it was nuts, dude. It was a different league, and we played this fast dump and chase and run the shit out of the D game. Obviously, that's not my game. Tried to figure it out and try to fit in that model. We didn't have a lot of skill. We had Jonathan Filowich, who was tearing it up that year, but he was a great combination of that type of hockey. He's a WHL guy, could fly, could hit, could score, muck it up in front of the net. You need those guys, absolutely. Do you need everybody to turn into that guy? No. And that wasn't going to be me, right? And I just trying to figure my way out. And again, 40 games was perfect, maybe 50 games. And then, the big turning point for me my rookie year was they traded for Robert Nielsen from the New York Islanders. And that just saved my whole season. It gave me a guy to play with. We saw the ice the exact same. We saw each other through the back of our heads. I knew exactly where it was. He knew where I was all the time. We just had the sick chemistry. And that gave me a chance really then jump into it. I mean, the first 20 games, I think I had like 5 points.
Okay.
And I wound
I was
up
going to
having,
say, no, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So the second half was a lot more productive than the first half, is what you're saying.
we were killing the power play. We were killing every 5-on-5. We were all over every shift. We were dominating, and it was a ton of fun, and it gave me a lot of confidence because it was tough for me to have 5 points in 20 games, and I couldn't figure my way out. Like, it was just a totally different game. I didn't have the concept of get rid of the puck, go hit somebody to get it back. Like, for me, it's like, I'm going to dangle you. You're going to have to take it from me before I get rid of it. So this new concept of throw it away, go hit,
Yeah.
just it didn't. I don't know. It wasn't my game.
Didn't make any sense.
And that was a little bit how the Oilers played as well at that point. They had one line that was like Ryan Smith, Ellis Hemsky, and they had some really good, those guys were sick players. And the other three lines were kind of more that grinder type style. The Western Conference was a big and tough conference. So that's part of it. And, the second year definitely I had a really good season, put up a point a game, and thought I would have got more. So more time up there would have helped because it didn't give me any indication of what it was like up there. Training camp's totally different, right? Like, even those preseason games, we're all in the same boat. We're all just trying to grasp this spot in the show and doing whatever it takes. And that's really not even how the game's played in the show. Everybody's on their spot in the show, right? Like, right wing stays in the right wing, left wing stays in the left wing, center, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's in their spot. And training camp and preseason, it's like, it's like the jungle. It's like down in the minors. It's like people where they shouldn't be trying to get a hit in, or you know what I mean? It's a totally different game. So just for me, it was unfortunate because I would like to have that experience. And once I got a chance to be an everyday NHL in Long Island, I fit right in and had some pretty good success, And it wasn't even like jumping in like a top 6. I was a top 9. I was a third line player for the Islanders, but still produced. We became like a really good third line. Blake Como, myself, and John Sim we were solid. We put up, we were putting up points every night for the team as the third line. And but that comfort level I finally got when I got there to be a day-to-day guy and not, looking over when am I getting sent down not even that. Like, when I was playing in Edmonton, it was always like, when am I want to get called up. So it was a little bit of that. If I can go back, probably be a little bit more mentally strong. But hindsight's 20/20, and it is what it is. So I think it was Josh Gratton told me that one time. He's like, Schrempy, I'll tell you what about the American Hockey League. It's great. The 1 year is great. 2 years is great. After your third year, you start to go a little bit backwards. If you're not getting a chance up in the show, you're not playing significant games in the show. If you play 3 full seasons of the minors, you actually start to go. And it actually nailed true to my career. My third year was like, I just hit an absolute wall, frustration and, lack of confidence and all that stuff. So in my last year, I had very bad numbers, 42 points. We had a very bad team. And altogether, we lost a lot of games. Out of 82 games, we lost like somewhere around the range of 50, 55 games. So we had one losing streak. Unfortunate for a guy named Bruce Lannon, who was an amazing guy, great owner in Springfield, loves the game of hockey. Felt so bad for this guy. He put so much into it, cared so much about it, and we just didn't. The product we put on the ice stunk. One time we lost. We were like 10 games into a losing streak, and he put a guaranteed win up against, I think it was Hartford. And Hartford was stacked at that time. They had meat. They had everything you can think of. They were tough as nails. They had some top scorers on the team. And we were none of that. And he put a guaranteed win up in the public. Come to the game, guaranteed win.
No way.
And we got smoked 10-0.
No way, bro.
Like, damn.
Come on.
Not only did we feel terrible about 10-0, but also like I knew what Bruce put up, and like he's trying to get engagement, and that's what we gave him back, kind of thing. And it was like that. I felt so bad for him. And then we lost. We ended up losing 17 games in that losing streak. Roughly, I think it was 16 or 17 games. We finally won a game, and it was like, hey, fuck it, let's go, let's get it going, right? We go on and we lose again, go on another losing streak, and it's almost like, Groundhog Day. 10 games in, guaranteed win night against Providence. We lost 11-1. In the 10-0, 11-1 on 2 guaranteed win nights. It was brutal.
Oh man. That's a lot of bad luck too, though. Like, how many times have you lost 10-0, buddy? Never, right? So it just happens to be on a guaranteed win night, like.
Yeah. Brutal.
Man. Yeah. So that's unfortunate.
Down. Yeah.
That's unfortunate, man. But like, what was cool though is like, I know it took it like Edmonton. I wish they could have pulled the trigger like on a trade, Trempy, in your third year, of the entry level. You know what I mean? Because I bet you would have got traded to a team that you just would have filled a role, the top two lines, and then boom, it would have been Shrimp would have went to work, right? But dude, you took advantage of what you were able to get. You got third line ice with the Islanders. You pretty much put up 50 points in 90 games, bro. For third line ice, that's extremely impressive. You know what I mean? Probably like you said, the most productive third line in the National Hockey League, right? Pretty impressive, my friend.
We were solid, and it was fun. It was great, good to have that role and kind of fill it. And underdog, it's used to going from being like a guy that's kind of counted on for offense, wasn't really counted on for offense, but still putting up offense and doing the show. And that year it was my first year there was awesome too. So I got a chance. It took me a while to get in. Even I got there and it first started off on wing, and I didn't do that well. And wing is a tough position for me because I'm not the fastest skater. I'm more of a creator and trying to buy space for my line mates. When I play center, I can do that. I can manipulate coverages and spring, wingers on breakaways or odd man rushes. On the wing, you're stuck to that one side, a lot of stopping and starting. So anyways, first 5 games, I was on the, fourth line playing left wing, and it just was stuck there. And it was obvious that wasn't a good fit. And the coach was honest with me and said, listen, you're going to have to wait till someone gets hurt or plays himself out of lineup at center. So I ended up waiting like 18 games in a row to get in the lineup. But for me, I was happy to be there, and I was just happy for the opportunity. It was a totally different ball game. I was so much closer to being in the lineup in the show than down in the minors on the bus with the soggy subs and the bad pizza and bussing, whatever.
Usually pizza.
Bingo. Usually pizza. Yeah.
Yeah. But the subs were probably second.
Yeah, it was good. So I waited my turn, and I got the chance to get in there with the guys and be like a family and be around. And everybody was kind of pulling for me because I was working my ass off and staying focused. I wasn't pouting around the room. I was staying every day after with Mark Streit and Poso and Milan Yurcin. We played ping pong for 3-4 hours after practice every day, and finally got my chance to get in the lineup and stepped in and played really well. I got like I think it was my second or third game in the lineup. I scored the goal in Colorado, batted one out of the air, like a baseball goal. So that was got me, some momentum going, and the boys were pumped. And then I started getting in the shootouts, and I did really well in the shootouts, and gave me a chance to kind of give the team something and be a factor in the lineup, and not just in the lineup, and putting up points and scoring the shootout and helped on the second power play unit. It was pretty cool. So I was proud of my time in Long Island. And again, once I finally got a chance to get in there and find the patterns and get my 10 games, as Don would say, I finally got to understand the league a little bit, and it wasn't as hard as I thought. And the biggest thing too, Mac, is like the thing for me that I was so pumped about is when you play in the show, your game just gets so much better. Like, It just gets, you're playing against the best, you're playing with the best in practice. Like, it's sick how good your game gets, and I got a chance to realize that because, again, my last year in the minors was, and no other way to put it, was horrible. Couldn't even figure it out there. I just was so blocked. I played 1 year up in the show, played with the Islanders. My second year I had an injury, and after the end of the injury, Garth sent me down to play a conditioning game. I went down to play against Manchester, and I absolutely tore it up. I dominated the game. I felt so good. And this was like, what happened was when I got out there now at that level, it felt so slow to me. It was like everything just slowed down, and it was like so much, time and space just opened up. Like the vision just opened up. Everything seemed to slow down in my vision. Where fast forward a year and a bit later, I mean, again, I was sitting at barely getting half a point a game. And the league seemed like a struggle to me. So that showed me how much I progressed as a player and how awesome it was playing in the NHL, how much better your game gets just by being on the ice with these top-notch players.
Yes, and then thank you for sharing that, buddy, because that's incredible insight. Now, speaking of dominating the game, right? Now I know that you had a stop with the Atlanta Thrashers in the NHL, okay? But then you decide to go overseas, my friend. You decide to go to the beautiful country of Sweden. The very legendary team, Modo. Now, Mr. Rob Schremp, you absolutely ripped up this elite league in Sweden. You were part of a record-breaking top scoring line for Modo. Can you please talk a little bit about this incredibleness?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great setup. For me, it was leaving when I left Atlanta. It was crazy. They sold the team, moved it to Winnipeg, and then they reshuffled everything. Everybody got gas, so it was kind of a quick turnaround. And when the first new management came in, it was right away talking about, the contract talk wasn't very positive. It was more like two-way, and we'll see where he starts kind of thing. And I was like, I can't go back to the minors. Like, I just couldn't mentally do it again, man. Like, so I was like, hey, let's go try Europe and get a chance to prove it over there and come back. Guys had done it before. I know Mark Giordano did it. He went to the KHL, but the big talk, a lot about my talk was about my skating. So I was like, I'll go to one of the top skating leagues and I'm going to prove it. So went to Sweden and I went to a great spot. Marcus Naslund was the general manager. Peter Forsberg was the assistant general manager, and Alf Samuelsson was the coach. So three guys that had unbelievable careers and great knowledge and that sort of thing. So I was really comfortable jumping into that setting. We went over there and it was great. The bigger ice, and that was again, Don Kernan came in. The first 10 games, I had 1 point. But I wasn't playing bad. I was nervous too because you hear these stories about going to Europe and guys getting fired and sometimes like that. So I was kind of insecure. And then Alfie called me in after like 4 or 5 games, like, hey man, just so you know, you're playing good. Like you're playing really good. Don't get discouraged. This is different hockey. This isn't going to be a 100-point season for you. A point a game in this league is super good. Like, just relax. I'm like, okay, thank you. I needed that because it wasn't deterring my game, but you could tell on my mannerisms, I was like kind of skittish. I'm like, man, am I going to get like fired? Like 4 or 5 games in, I got 1 point. Like 6 games, I got 1 point. And then after 10 games, I just figured out the patterns and I figured out the flow. I got my first goal in the shootout, and then from there, I got my confidence to score goals, and it just kind of started going from there.
Yeah, bro. Well, you take away those first 10 games, and you pretty much had a point per game that season.
Yeah,
he said it's just really, really good, right?
Yeah, it's not easy. There's such a different game over there. North America, you make one pass into a danger area, and it's a grade A because it's smaller ice. So you're talking a difference in 5 to 7 feet in some of these scoring chances, which is mathematically you're starting to talk about trajectories on net and that sort of thing. And 5 or 7 feet's huge, when you start talking about faces of the net and that sort of thing. So in Europe North America, you draw a guy to you, you draw a duplication of cover to you, you make one pass and it's a grade A. And in in Europe and Sweden specifically, you got to make 2, sometimes 3 passes to get that grade A. So you're talking about stringing those along. There's other defending players out there. There's so much more chance for this play to break down. That's the thing. Like some of the trends, or not the trends, some of the habits that I had in the North America, it's like, for me, walking off the half wall, if I got to the dot line almost on the top of the circle in North America, I genuinely I believe I can score, and I can score from there on a clear shot. You do it on the European ice, and it's like playing catch with the goalie. It looks dumb almost. You're like, why would you? It's just that much further out, and it's only like, again, maybe 5 feet or 7 feet roughly, but it's a huge factor when you start talking about threatening the net. And I had to learn that. So taking that away, and like for me, I played a lot of the game with like the markings on the ice were my kind of, that's how I played the game. I'd see in my vision where the markings on the ice were, and I'd try to get to them. So I had to change that totally when I went to Europe, because I would use the dot line, I'd use the hash marks, I'd use the circle as my visual guidelines to when to attack the net. I had to take that away and start thinking about drawing people to me to make plays, make passes. So totally changed my game in some regard, but it was fun to do because it was a new challenge, and I won't say master the game, but conquer those patterns and understand those trends, and then start to take advantage of them and create offense. It was a stepping block, and it took me a minute to do it. But then once I got to a level where every night I was coming, I was a factor. I was making offense, creating good chances, scoring goals. It was a very good feeling because it was something new, and it wasn't easy at first.
Right on, bro. And I appreciate you sharing that. Now, there's 2 things I want to touch up on here. The first one is Ulf Samuelsson. Now, Ulf Samuelsson, especially for people, like, I know you're 4 years younger than me, but kind of in our era. When I think of Ulf Samuelsson, I think of Cam Neely. I think of Ulf Samuelsson being Cam Neely. And I just remember, like, the Rock'em Sock'em Don Cherry videos where Don is like, oh, I'm so glad Cam got that Ulf Samuelsson. But now, as I got older, I realized, man, Ulf Samuelsson was a big, solid defenseman, very, very, very good at what he did. And I started getting more and more respect for him. As a kid, I kind of hated him because Don Cherry was mad at him for hurting his favorite player, Cam Neely. But as I got older, I had my own mind, and I started respecting the guy. What's up with all Samuelson? Good guy, like good coach. What's going on with that guy?
Yeah, no, I respected Alf a lot. He was great. Again, for me, I don't know what he was saying in Swedish, what the Swedish guys would say, but for me personally, I remember, I think it was like right inside that first 10 game range. I don't know which game it was, fifth, sixth, seventh game. As I was playing the point on the blue line, and I had tried to make a pass, and I had a lane to this guy, backdoor wide open. I went to sauce it, and it just hit a guy's stick. Guy goes on a breakaway and scores. And I put my head down, and I was disappointed. And after the game, he called me up. He's like, Rob, I think a lot of coaches would probably give you a lot of shit for what you did, but he goes, I understand that the hole that you're trying to hit is this big, and you're not going to hit it all the time, so let it go. And it was like, just that level of respect, and then the fact that he came over and did that for me personally, like showed he cared and understood what I was thinking, and I understood I didn't take it for granted. I wasn't just like, oh, whatever, another turnover. It weighed on me, and I felt bad. But he also, I don't know, just that level of understanding, and like he played with some great players. He obviously understands, like he knew what I saw there and what I was trying to do, and it wasn't like I was trying to go 1-on-5 through everybody and turn it over. Like it was as if, he understood the situation, and so I had a lot of respect for him right out of the gate, the way that he communicated with me and treated me as a player. So I liked Alfie a lot. And, he talked to me through the course of the year. It was always, it was really positive. And he's like, you keep playing this way, you might get a chance. And I know what you probably want to go back and just stay focused and that sort of thing. So he was great. And I really appreciated him. And I enjoyed playing for him. So Alfie's awesome, but he's intense and he's competitive. And that's a great thing. Now playoffs and we're all going crazy in playoffs, losing the shit on the bench. It's great though. I love this competitive side, and you can see it. When he played the game, he was a fierce competitor. I know he drove people nuts, but that's what he had to do. And
exactly, he did his role very well.
He did his role very well. I mean, he's not supposed to be out there asking for autographs from. I know, terrible what happened with Cam Neely and Mr. Neely, but he's out there just trying to win and eliminate the best player on the other team. And sure he wasn't narrow. I'm going to take this guy's knee out, sort of thing. It's more like he's fired up. He's
finishing his
check, the game hard, finishing his hit, and fierce competitor, and played the game hard. And man, he took some lickings. He gave some lickings. So he's seen a lot of the game, and he's been around a long time. Again, it was a great opportunity to have that wealth of experience and knowledge with him, Marcus, and Peter around the room. So pretty cool opportunity. And again, you can look on my PB card. Peter Forsberg was on my favorite players list.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you show him?
No, I didn't.
Does he know? Does he know? Did you tell him?
I used to love that guy. He was so sick. His reverse hits, the way he controlled the puck, and then
so strong.
So strong. And then I love the way his clappers. He used to have the sickest clapper. And I again, try to duplicate that and immortalize that. Yeah. That's the right word. I'm saying it properly, probably not. But I always just envisioned that when I was out on the ice by myself. I always envisioned that clapper that Forsberg had. He'd walk right around the top of the circles, whatever. Sometimes he'd cut back 2 or 3 times, walk across, tickle the rafter, and just clapper shelf bar down. I took that shot probably 10,000 times as a kid.
Did you use him in the Nintendo games?
I never played games, to be honest with you. I was at the
never,
rink. I never really gamed. No.
That's fair enough. For me, it was just Super Nintendo, man. Super Nintendo, those hockey games. I like to use some of the players that we've mentioned and stuff. So sometimes I'll say, hey man, I used to I was roommates with Tempo Numminen went in Buffalo one year, right? And I told Temple, when you were on Winnipeg Jets, I don't know why. I think it's because they had Timo Solani. I would use Winnipeg, and Temple was so good in the game. And I'm like, buddy, I would play you all the time in Super Nintendo. And the guy's like, yeah, right. This is kind of it's an interesting conversation to have with someone who used to play them in a Nintendo game. But those are the journeys that we go through, though, Rob, and it's so cool to be able to experience them. Playing for your favorite player, Peter Forsberg, man, that's a cool experience, right?
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, bro. So the other thing I wanted to touch up on is the whole Europe thing, Rob. Like, you're a guy that you I mean, and you're still going. You made a comeback, and you're playing now again. But you've had so much success in Europe. Okay, You've played in multiple elite leagues in Europe, okay? KHL is pretty much known as like kind of the best league other than the NHL, at least money-wise, right? And then, you're in the Swiss Elite League, you're in the Swedish Elite League, amongst others. You're just elite, period. And you had a lot of success. No, but it's true. Now, usually around the age that a player decides to go to Europe, it's a guy that he might be up and down with the AHL and the NHL, but he's mostly playing in the AHL. And he's just kind of like, man, I'm getting these offers from overseas. Am I ready to see something else? Or do I want to keep chipping away? Is this all I have here? Or is there going to be more? It's quite the decision to make. What was that process like for you when you first went to Moto? Like, I know you mentioned the skating part, right? But what other factors kind of were involved?
Yeah, it was man, it was such a really snap. It was such a shock that when Atlanta went to Winnipeg, it was kind of like, and then it wasn't really. I really was looking for a one-way offer. I didn't want to play again. I didn't want to play down I want to stay at the top level, and I wanted to compete at the top level. So for me, it was just that challenge of proving that, and I'd done it at the minors, and it didn't work. So I figured something new. And I don't know. I'm not too shy about things. I wasn't nervous to go over. It just said, let's try something. Let's try this route and go over and try something different. So it's tricky. There's so much, I think, misconception in North America about what it is in Europe. Even for me going over there kind of ignorantly and thinking that I was going to go over there and have 100 points and just rip it up, and got there and was like, holy, this is like sick hockey. Actually, like, this is tough. Like, this is really
good.
tough.
Yeah.
The hockey is really good over here. It's a totally different brand. Everybody thinks bigger rinks, more skill. It should be ball hockey. It's not ball hockey. It's actually more tactical, and it's even tougher to score. Everybody can skate. Everybody's in very good shape, and it's an eye opener. So it's not something of where you're going to lesser hockey. You're going to different hockey. I think that's the misconception over there. Like, oh, I'm going to go to Europe. It's whatever, it's lesser. I mean, yeah, it's not the same, but I wouldn't say it's lesser. Difficult, totally different hockey. Again, there's, for me, it was a great opportunity to challenge my game. And then also, again, like, Sweden is some of the best skaters in the world come out of Sweden. Especially some of the best skating defensemen come out of Sweden. It's sick, their skating technique and their footwork and the gym work that goes into it. So it's really a great opportunity for players, to have a different avenue. Sometimes maybe you're not going to get back. I didn't get back. I tried to come back and play in the A, and this is just too big of a mountain to climb, not being a prospect or a draft pick in the Florida Panthers organization. I was old enough to know, but it was good enough for me to come back for a year, be in North America. I played in the All-Star game in Syracuse, which was sick. But for me, I needed
That's where it was?
Over. Yeah.
That's where it was?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's really cool, dude.
Yeah,
right?
It was cool. Yeah, it was sick.
Yeah.
I had like 500 people in attendance. It was cool.
Wow,
really
man.
cool.
Okay. And yeah, I guess so. And you put up pretty good numbers that year, like American League numbers. You know what I mean?
No, it was okay. I started out hot, and again, it was at that point in my career, the 3-and-3s were tougher. The bus rides were tougher. Started out, I came in guns blazing. Really, I had a really hot start. And,
did you?
And then kind of a deflator in my sail. Speaking openly, was like they told me, go down, and if you take an AHL contract, and if you're playing well enough and we need you, then don't worry about that contract situation. And like, they had 3 guys in the top 6 go down, and at that point I had like 7 goals in 12 games, and then it didn't happen. So I was kind of like, damn. It's like, okay, hey, I get it though. I was old enough to be able to handle it and not like like I'm getting screwed or anything. Like, it wasn't anything like that. It was a long shot in the first place. Anything extra would have been just whatever, just a cookie on top, so to speak. So I understood they're developing the young guys, blah, 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 all that good stuff. But then at that point, it was just really enjoying the year, being back in North America. My parents could come to every game, pretty close. Not every game, but a lot of the home games they got to come to. And it was good to see a lot of familiar faces, speak some English, go to the grocery store, order what I wanted, and that sort of thing. But it was good to get that refresher and then go back and kind of finish off my career back in Europe and enjoy seeing the world and playing some cool leagues.
Yeah, bro, some cool leagues for sure. And like I just wanted to mention some of them. Like I mentioned the KHL. Okay, so then we got Austria. We got Switzerland. Now I heard now, bro, this is what's impressive. You almost had a point per game in the Swiss Elite League. I had heard that at times the Swiss Elite League was the best one. Maybe for different reasons.
Yeah.
But right?
It's totally different. It's totally different brand, and it's very fast, very offensive. It's almost like a mixture of soccer and hockey, the strategy.
Wow.
You see like a Davos, Davos is like every single second of the game, they're trying to spring breakaways, and just back and forth hockey. So it's not so much of the very small windows of opportunity because it's going so fast back and forth. You know what I mean? Where it's not so much of that, like muck it up in the corner, grind it out, pop it into the middle, slot shot. There's not much of that. It's more like, again, very fast back and forth and trying to find a crack in a break for a breakaway. So different style, totally different style, and tough to get points. I mean, you got to have a hot power play. And sometimes, finding that chemistry is not guaranteed. So, it's tricky. So, totally different. Sweden was, in my experience, and that was a long time ago. Things have changed. It's still a very good league. In my opinion, back then, it was the best, second best outside of the show.
Okay.
The competitiveness of it, the structure, the style of it, like the skill level, it was very, very high, very good, and it was very tough to play in. KHL was much different, more games, more travel, very good hockey, much better. I could say much bigger names. And some sick high-end level skill guys, like absolutely.
Yeah.
But the overall way that the Swedish game was played was, in my opinion, was second best. It was just your game gets so much better playing there. You get no time and space. Guys can wheel. It's so hard to turn a defenseman. Even if you turn a defenseman, he still has time to get back, and they always get back. So it's tough, but totally different games. But Switzerland was a great experience, and the fans are played in Bern. They got this building. There's like one section. I think it's 16,000, and there's like one wall that has like 12 or 13,000 fans. Just they stand up the whole time. They got all the like the soccer style chants going and stuff. The drum beat. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's so intense, and it's a sick barn. So some great experiences along the journey, man. It's been I was a suitcase for a little bit, but.
No, but that's why it's okay to be a suitcase in Europe, man, because you get to see Europe.
Yeah.
Another place I wanted to mention was the DEL. Now that's Germany's top league, right, Rob?
Yeah. That was actually, that league was it was shocking how good it got, how good it had come. We went and played over in like, I think it was like 2011, 12. We took a little charity tour over there with a company, Stop Concussions.
Okay.
Kerry Goulet. And we went over. It was like Brandon Prost, myself, Kyle Quince, Sammy Gagne. There was a group of us that went over. We played some Austrian teams and some German teams. And then the next year they came over. So not to say that's a total indicator of the league per se, but we get a little sample playing against those guys. So fast forward 4 or 5, what was that, 2011? So 2000, when I played in Nuremberg. 16, I think it was.
2006. 2016, 2017 season.
Yeah. So then when I went there and I got a chance to play some actual games in the league and the parity in the league was unreal. Like the games were, the skill level was sick, and the German players were really good. There was quite a few imports there, but I'm talking the German players.
The German players,
were good, like sick. Our guys on our team, Patrick Reimer. There was a few guys that were just
really.
They drove the boat on our team. It wasn't the imports. We were like following in. Yeah, they were really good. And then you think about it too. I think it was 2018, the Olympics. Like Germany should have won the Olympics.
That's right.
Should have. They lost. They had a power play under 2 minutes. It's an unfortunate block shot. Russia ties it up. But think of it like what it could have should have. But like they technically should have won the Olympics. Like that says a lot. Man. And I know the show guys weren't there, but that doesn't matter because it's still
doesn't matter.
Everybody else's teams are without show guys too, right? So that tells you a little bit of like how far their development's come and like where they sit as a country as far as their development in hockey and where they sit now in the world. So that the DEL is a very, very good hockey league, and you're seeing some players come out of there now, coming over to the show and doing really well. So
Yeah.
It was a good eye opener again to see a different part of the world. Again, I would have thought like DEL was lower from my experience of just playing some exhibition games, which maybe that's right, maybe it's wrong, but it is what it is. That's what I had. I got a chance to play there, and I was like, holy, like this is really good
Real
hockey.
deal.
It is really good hockey. I mean, a lot of good players, and it was surprising and it was great. So I got a chance to go there and play in the playoffs. Again, my numbers were good in the playoffs. I played 10 games and I jumped from the Swiss League. It was kind of clear that my contract wasn't going to be renewed after the season. So we were a bottom place team in Switzerland. So Danny Severett and Brandon Pruss were in Nuremberg. They're like, Shrimpy, come here, help us win a championship. There's 10 games left. Jump in, because there's like a roster freeze period. You have to change rosters before that time. There's only like a week left in that. So I just asked the team, like, it's clear that I'm not coming back next year. Do you mind? I want to go win a championship. And they agreed to it, which I was thankful for.
Man,
we got a chance to go play with Civvy and Prusty, and we tried to go for that second championship together. We fell short, unfortunately, but it was a great time to see some familiar faces and play on a really good hockey team in Nuremberg.
Man, that's so cool. Man, I'm blessed to even be hearing some of these stories, Shrempy. But like before we go, bro, I see that November 2018, that's when you like officially announced your retirement, right? But then August 2020, you move to Latvia. You decide that the itch was just too much, or what, buddy? Tell me about it. Tell me about that.
No. I was skating in the summertime just for exercise. It was nice to get out and twirl around. And again, going back to, I'd rather skate than be in the gym, so to speak. But I was skating with a bunch of pro guys, and there was the weird time with COVID. There was like 20 guys here that were really good pro guys that didn't have contracts. So I was out on the ice with them, and the rust wasn't as rusty as I thought. One of the guys came up to me, Oscar Bartolos, actually. He played for the Philadelphia Flyers organization for a while. He's like, "Are you playing?" I'm like, "No, I'm retired." He's like, "You should play in this the OptiBet league. It's it's like basically like it's like a senior A league."
Okay.
Kind of give you
a
sample of what it's like. It's like a senior A league. So I figured, what the heck, jump in. Because for me, I can't turn off the competitiveness. So when I play men's league, like. Even like
You're
some like
going
when
hard,
I was retired, I was playing once or twice a week with men's league, and my wife's like, "You got to stop." Like I'm coming home like fired up. I get fired up. I can't, And I think I had 2 scraps in men's league because it was literally
really
not total scraps like toe to toe.
Yeah.
But I threw a guy down like it was. There's also a level of I know I played pro, but there's also a level. I'm not saying I'm Wayne Gretzky, but there's also a level of respect. Like swinging your stick around.
Of course.
Just because I played pro doesn't mean you get to swing your stick around my face and slash my wrist just because I'm better. Like it's one thing when a guy's not very good and really trying hard, you get that. But like the difference, right? Like an out of control guy on his skates and a guy going like this, it's much different.
Yeah.
A guy going like this says like I have no respect for you. I'm going to hurt you, and no, you're not going to hurt me.
Yeah, respect
I'm not
level.
saying I'm not saying that I'm the sheriff, but I did play with some pretty tough guys. I did scrap with them after practice. I know how to fight.
Nice.
I
hear you, brother.
Danny Blah grabbed me and it showed me the ropes. Dennis Bond.
He'd be a good teacher.
Price.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah. Dennis the Menace would have been probably the best teacher.
He was
most experienced anyway.
Technically, he fought my rookie year. I had so much respect for Bones, man. Like this guy was 34 when I was 20. And he was a great mentor for me. He was a great guy, just a great veteran dude. Just took me under his wing and helped me mature a lot. But Bones was fighting that year. And I mean, he's 34. He'd done it for a long time. He didn't have an ACL in either leg, 0 ACL. So his legs were braced up. And he's fighting the Goat Chase.
Everybody.
He's fighting Tristan Grant was all fired up at that point, wanted the shot. And he's fighting everybody and not losing.
I know.
Like knocking people up, but like getting in here and grabbing and like
just wins, consecutive wins.
Yeah,
very. He's very good, man. He's a former guest on the show.
Is he? Yeah, Bones.
He told me all about this year. Trust me. Yeah, man. It was a grind for him. He had to prove that his knees were healthy enough so he could maybe sign for the next year. But meanwhile, he's trying to like nurse them a bit. It was very, very difficult for him.
Yeah, so we saw that struggle. We all respected the hell out of him for what he was doing and showing up. And like that's the other thing. It's we had so much meat. It's like Bones let Karks take that one. Bones is Karks Karks is 6'4", 6'5", like a Greek god shredded.
Incredible, isn't it?
And Karks could throw with both hands. Like,
Yeah.
The only person I seen throw like that with both hands was Steve McIntyre.
Yeah,
Steve
I agree.
McIntyre would throw a bomb, land it, and switch grip at the same time, and it was
The
like
same type of power. Yeah,
freaking hands were both, and they were. And the thing about Mac and also Karks is like both arms were so coordinated. These punches were like missiles right at the jawline. It was like, buddy, I don't know who would have the balls to like fight these guys. Like you, I know you would have stepped in there and taken it. I give you props and respect, and that's why I always fought. I always respected the hell out of the fighters. And if it's a tough, very, very tough job, and you guys have, brass kahunas for doing it and doing it well. It's sick. It's such an art. And
yeah.
Such a,
test of the will
the
too.
game.
Yeah.
Test of the will. And seeing a guy like Bones show up every single night, do it.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of respect for that.
Right on, brother. Yeah, man. So that I appreciate you sharing the Latvia story, because man, that's pretty cool. Like they seen you wheeling around. They're like, man, this guy's better than like everyone we know. Like, is he playing or what? Like that's pretty cool, dude. Must have been a good feeling though, too, right?
Well, yeah, and at that point,
it's always good to be wanted.
He hadn't been on the ice in like 6 to 7 months. I mean, I just was like, again, I just like, let me just move around, get out there, and it doesn't, that's the thing. Like from the younger years, how much time I put into this thing. I guess that's what I've earned out of it. It doesn't leave. It just sticks around, It's
yeah, dude.
It's encouraging. I still get calls like my buddy wants me to go play in France, and my wife has to like, you're like, no, no.
But what if you tell her that there's a special team on an island in the south of France, and that the wives have to come?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah, no, I hear you, bro. I hear you. I understand.
I'm doing my thing now, and it's more. I do enjoy more giving back to the game now, working with players and kind of passing along the knowledge and the skills and showing what it takes to kind of build them up. And it's gratifying to give that to someone and have them implement it, and then they come back to you like, it worked. And the first thing is like, would you think I told you because it didn't work?
Yeah.
It's like, you think I was going to tell you so you go run into the wall or something? I told you. I did so, but I know it's gratifying, and I love what I'm doing now. So it's been a cool journey in the game, and circling back and staying involved, and a lot of great people through the ride. A lot of people gave me a lot of things, so it's fun again to circle that back now and work with players and give them that information, and don't let it die with me.
Awesome, buddy. Dude, honestly, man, I haven't had so much fun in an episode in a very, very long time. I appreciate how incredible of a storyteller you are, though, right? Like trust me, man. You're gonna be in the business. I gotta put you on the hot spot for a second here, though, buddy.
All right.
Because I gotta ask you if you'll come back for a part 2.
Sure.
Yeah. Gotcha. I got Schremp on the hot seat. Okay, so fair enough. So okay, awesome, man. Because I know, like honestly, Robbie, like the stories, and there's so much more that we can get into. Your wife's probably gonna literally, find out my address and send me death threats for keeping her husband home. But no, honestly, man, there was a few more things I want to get in with you. And I know that this is absolutely golden content, so I really appreciate you agreeing to come back. It's a really, really big deal to me, man. You're one of my favorites, buddy, and I love talking to you in general. But I want to thank the listeners for tuning into another episode of The Sheriff, featuring the all-time special guest, best puck handler in the world, Mr. Robbie. Thank you very much. We're going to sign out right now, guys. Woo!